Okay, so this was an interesting thing that happened, because last week, at the end of Sunday, all of a sudden, today's talk started coming up, which is very rare. So I jotted down these notes, I had a title, and I started to have an image coming to mind, and then I sat down this morning and started writing my notes for the talk that was coming up this morning, and then I looked back to my notes from last week, and I'm like, what? That's so last week ago. So it was like, yeah, that was then, this is now, present moment, right here, right now. So the quote that I do want to start off with is another Rupert Spira quote, because I did get the heart of prayer. And I have to say, just holding this book makes me feel so good. Like, it's just such incredible, amazing, beautiful, profound, sacred text in this tiny little thing, but there's so much in here. Anyway, so the quote that I'm offering at the beginning is the quote that we had in meditation. As God's being clothes itself in human experience, it passes out of eternity. As such, time is how eternity appears from the perspective of a human being. Okay? So let's just sit with that for a moment. A couple of years ago, my mom was here. I don't know why she was here at this time of year, because she's not normally here for my birthday, but she was here and it happened to me on my birthday. So she took me for lunch to the fancy hotel in Sydney at the end of the pier. Maybe it's called the Pier Hotel, I can't remember. And the restaurant that was there then is not the restaurant there now, but it was amazing. We had such a beautiful meal, and we were sitting right in front of the window, so we could see right out, onto the pier, into the bay, I don't know what it's called. Anyway, so just the water, looking at the ocean. And as my mom is talking, and I'm the one facing the window, as my mom is talking, all of a sudden, this massive bubble, just starts floating by with rainbow prismatic colors, and it's ooey and gooey and billowing. This bubble was bigger than this thing here. It was huge. I've never seen such a big bubble. And then another one, and they're just gently moving through the air, turning into all sorts of fluid, beautiful shapes, and so gorgeous. And I just said, Mom, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. Turn around and look at these bubbles. And so we were completely captivated by these beautiful, brilliant, delicate, ethereal bubbles. And then, poof, one by one, they disappeared, right? And we're kind of oh, every time a bubble would burst. So interestingly enough, for many, many months, there was a little sticky on my wall. This blue sticky here, I don't even remember how many months ago I wrote it down. But on there is, bubbles are meant to burst. And there was a day where I'm like, that's a great title for a talk. And so I put it on my wall, and it's been there for months. And the story, I kind of forgot about it. And then that's what was coming up in the last few days, was bubbles are meant to burst, bubbles are meant to burst. And I'm like, well, what does that have to do with the quote? What does that have to do with what's going on? What does it have to do with attention? And then it all started coming together this morning, as it normally does. And so what ended up happening was I was reminded of how these bubbles, because they are so captivating, so beautiful, so delicate, so amazing, and you kind of look at them going, how is that even possible? And then before you can even really kind of get into it, poof, they're gone. They're so short-lived, but they take so much of our energy and attention when they're around. And so this made me think back to a line that I read in Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics when I was in practitioner studies, I think, which had such an incredible impact on me. It's a phrase that appears in the Bible 452 times, apparently, and it came to pass. And up until that class that I was in, it came to pass for me meant sort of, and so it is, and so it shall be. It is written. It's going to happen for sure. It's it's a done deal kind of thing. But in Eric Butterworth's book, what he says is, what it really means is, it came to pass, as in, it's not permanent, as in, it's temporary, which is what all of life is. Yes, we talk about eternal life on the grand scheme of things, but every single moment is an individual moment. Every single moment is a brand new moment unto itself. And so life is passing constantly. Everything is temporary. But what we end up doing is we kind of get anchored in this idea of, well, there's this continuing thread that's going on, and these are the ways that I want things to be. This is my preference. This is how life should look. And when it doesn't look that way, we start getting caught up in this incredible, amazing idea that, life isn't turning out the way that I want it to be. Well, here's the thing. If we are choosing every single moment, if we are actually paying attention to something every single moment, then we are the ones who are creating that life experience, right? Nothing else, no one else, nothing separate from us. We are creating every single moment of our life experience according to how we use our mind and how we open our heart. And so for me, what ended up happening when I read this line in the Eric Butterworth book, it was a complete shift in perspective for me. And so when I think back to those bubbles that we were seeing, it was like, wow, I can get caught up in the, oh no, like the bubble broke, the bubble burst, oh my gosh. Or I can just be like, wow, this is so amazing right now. And oh, that's what's happening. And here's something else to catch my attention. Oh, that's what's happening. And just be in the moment, be with what is, rather than, oh, what happened there? That's not what I would have preferred. So my talk title today is, Bubbles Are Meant to Burst. And so this also takes me back to yesterday, to the last 4 Agreements book study session that we had with Glenn. And it was a full house, 16 people or whatever it was yesterday. And at one point, we broke out into breakout groups to talk about our choice of a few different themes that Glenn had on the slide up there. And even though our group talked about transformation, which was such a juicy conversation, then I still go back to some of the shares in the larger group. And one of the things that really stuck with me is this idea, which we also teach in Science of Mind, where you have to get super clear on what your beliefs are, because your beliefs inform your life experience. Even if you don't know what your beliefs are, especially when you don't know what your beliefs are, they are informing how you see, how you perceive, how you receive, how you experience the world. And what is really important when we get clear on what those beliefs are is to not keep focusing on them. Because the more we focus on them, what happens? The more it expands our experience, right? But it can be really challenging to be like, okay, well, I'm just not going to think that. I'm just not going to believe that anymore. It's just as important to go, okay, I'm choosing consciously to not think or believe this anymore. I'm choosing consciously to think and believe this. So it's just as important to bring in a new belief, something that is life-affirming, something that feels good, something that supports you in moving forward this way, even when this is nipping at your heels all the time. Okay? Eventually, the more consciously you focus on this new life-affirming belief, the less this one has a grip on you until finally, it's still there, but it doesn't have that grip, it doesn't hold the same charge. So in the 4 Agreements book study session yesterday, one of the shares was she talked about a deep and personal share, but didn't actually share what it was, but talked about how she embraced the assignment that we were given. And Glenn actually gave us about 3 different ways that we could have done our final assignment for yesterday's session. And so this person went to one of the chapters at the end, which says, go and list all of your limiting beliefs. Just like tally them all up so you can get super clear. If you want to sort of hone in on what, the 2 or 3 main ones are that show up as this, splintering of 40 to 100 or whatever, have at it. But get clear, because then it's going to be time to consciously choose, create, write up different beliefs so that you can start telling a different story that is no longer based on these beliefs that have been in play. And when I heard that, not only did it take me to Science of Mind and how we need to continually check our beliefs, see, are they beliefs that support us? Are they life-affirming? Are they keeping us feeling stuck? Are they holding us back? And it took me to my experience of the last 2 weeks, essentially, which has been an ongoing thing for years. But years ago, in an advanced consciousness studies class, my teacher, Dr. James, abruptly asked us what our AEP was. And an AEP stands for Already Established Premise. And when he was asking this question, it basically meant, what's your foundational life belief? Do you believe that life is going to hell in a handbasket? Do you believe that, love is all there is? And so he just said, what's your AAP? Lesia. And I froze. There was nothing, absolutely nothing that was coming up for me. Deer in the headlights, kind of freezing. And it was shocking, it was mortifying, it was embarrassing, it was bizarre, because I'm like, how can there be nothing? And he's like, too long, and went to the next person. And then everyone else started offering, life is an adventure, my life unfolds perfectly, I hold things lightly, tra-la-la-la-la. And I'm thinking, what is happening here? Because I have nothing. But as I kept listening, all of a sudden, life is hard started coming up. And I'm like, what? Life is hard. Life is hard. Life is hard. Life is hard. And I'm like, this cannot at this stage of my life be my belief. You know, after 2 years of foundational studies, after 2 years of practitioner studies, after like intentionally traveling my spiritual journey and opening up to my spiritual transformation and evolution, this cannot be my foundational life belief. Please don't call on me again, because there's no way that I'm saying this out loud in a Zoom room full of 19 other ministers and coaches and whatever sort of thing that are all enjoying and loving life. He didn't call on me, but it sat with me. At that same time, though, I'm like, this is not going to be my life belief. This just isn't going to be it. I don't know what my new one is yet, but this is not going to inform and qualify my life going forward. So it took a few weeks. It popped in and out of my mind, in and out of my heart, in and out of my body every now and then. And eventually, there is always more, is what ended up coming up for me. There is always more time. There is always more energy. There is always more love. There is always more to learn. There is always more money. There is always more to be expanded by. It went on and on and on and on until finally I was like, this is my new belief. There is always more, because there's always more. Feeling so good. And then a few weeks later, I was in a training for a specific class, and Dr. James asked those of us in the class again, what's your AAP? This time I was ready. And when it came to be my turn, all of a sudden it actually expanded into, there is always more, and I am always more than. I am more than my thoughts, I'm more than my beliefs, I'm more than my feelings, I'm more than my experiences, I'm more than every single choice I've made, all the crap things I've done, all the amazing things I've done. I am always more than. Because, going back to that Rupert Spira quote last week, yes, I may be showing up as the refraction, but who and what I truly am is all of it, all that white light that's moving into the prison from the other side. So, great, there is always more and I'm always more than. Digging into this, wearing it, feeling great about it. And then, a couple of weeks ago, I participated in a very sacred ceremony, a practice, and my intention for moving into the practice was, I really want to make peace with life is hard. I don't want to let it go, I don't want to hide it, I don't want to throw it away or whatever, because according to science of mind, every single thought, every single memory, every single possibility always exists, okay? There's nothing we can ever get rid of. What we choose to focus on, where we place our attention, is what dictates our life experience. So I no longer want to focus on this. I don't want to place my attention on this. Knowingly or unknowingly, I want to make peace with life is hard. So during that experience, as I'm asking the question, what would life look and feel like if I made peace with life is hard? And just being open, just in deep, deep, profound meditation, being open to what could life look and feel like. Wow, some information and some wisdom came in. And one of the things that hit me, the main thing at one point, was this incredible perspective shift. When all of a sudden I could see two little tiny eyes poking just outside of my vision. And then I'm like, I see you. And then another set of eyes, same set of eyes over here. I'm like, I see you. And all of a sudden, it wasn't about life is hard is an obstacle for me, something that's keeping me from living my life, something that is in the way. Life is hard is a part of me. Life is hard is this tiny, precious, delicate little being that has been trapped and shoved down so far and has been trying to get out that it has caused all of these beliefs, all of these thoughts, all of these experiences in order to be seen. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, life is hard, come out and play. Life is hard, show yourself, it's okay. Life is hard, you're so beautiful. I love you. Come out and play. It's okay to be seen. Knowing that all of those phrases I was saying to myself. And so that shift in perspective of here's this belief, here's this thing, here's this assumption that I've been carrying along, for however many decades of my life. Maybe it's something that came from, another part of my family. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But to have this perspective shift of it's not an obstacle, it's nothing that's getting in my way. I'm the one who was mistreating it. I'm the one who shoved it way, way down into the depths, trying to treat it as something that was bad, something that was keeping me feeling stuck, when all the while it just wanted to come out and breathe. Perspective, massive, massive shift for me. So now I feel like I have made peace with life is hard. It's still coming up, but I feel like we have a totally new relationship and understanding with each other, which is so cool. But I had to do that consciously. I had to do that intentionally. This was something that was so important for me, and there's no way that it was just going to happen by accident. I had to be involved because I am the one who creates my life experience, right? So going back to the Rupert Spira quote, more of it, as God's being clothes itself in human experience, it passes out of eternity because there is nothing in God's being other than God's being into which it could pass. Rather, God sees its own eternity as time when it looks at itself through the medium of a finite mind. So that's us, okay? As such, time is how eternity appears from the perspective of a human being. So the point of this today is not so much about time, but about a shift in perspective. About not just what are you paying attention to, but how are you paying that attention? Because if you're only paying attention, and I'm going back to this imaginary prism that's here, if you're only paying attention from this prismatic rainbow effect over here, you're limiting yourself to experience life as this prismatic rainbow effect here. But if you turn around and back it up, going through that seeming separation that we feel every now and then focus your attention on this is who and what I truly am. This is the allness of me. This is experienced in a very different way. And then we don't get so caught up in, I'm going to die at some point. I might get sick. I've just lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to get by. How I'm going to pay my bills. This person in my life, is driving me crazy. I don't know what to do with him. Because we're going to stop looking at it from this perspective. We're going to start looking at it from this perspective. So the whole idea of bubbles are meant to burst is that every single moment is a brand new opportunity to heal, to grow, to expand, to shift perspective, to pay more attention. And every moment disappears. And every moment we get to start anew. So enjoy the bubbles, enjoy the rainbows, enjoy nature, enjoy all of the experiences that we have, and remember that the thing that is experiencing, the thing that is being, is the allness of life, is pure potentiality, is spirit, is source, is God. Thank you, and so it is.